Welcome to Duo Reads, where we decode deep ideas and break down big books one page at a time. Today we're looking at excerpts from Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is the Enemy. It's really influential stuff. You know, we often hear that ego, that confidence, even maybe a bit of swagger is what drives success. But Holiday kind of flips that on its head. He argues that ego isn't helping you. It's actually a major obstacle. And not just at one point, but like everywhere. When you're aspiring, when you're succeeding, even when you fail.
Yeah, it's a really compelling case he builds. And it's not just pop psychology. He pulls from history, philosophy, scripture. It gives this cautionary perspective that feels quite timeless. And it definitely pushes back against a lot of modern ideas about success, the self-promotion, the constant need for validation. He's basically saying without understanding this stuff, ego really can be your enemy.
Exactly. And what struck me is the goal isn't to, pump up your self-esteem. It's the opposite. He wants you to think less of yourself. Which sounds weird, right? But the idea is that it frees you up. It lets you focus on doing important work, world-changing work even. It's about getting out of your own head.
Spot on. The book defines ego pretty clearly. It's the voice that tells us we're better than we really are. Or, another way he puts it, is this conscious separation from everything. Like, it stops you from having a real, honest connection with the world around you. I mean, you see the downsides, right? It makes it hard to work with people, hard to take feedback. You can't see opportunities clearly because you're too busy seeing yourself. It breeds delusion, not real confidence. And Holiday makes a great point that our modern culture, social media, instant everything just pours fuel on that fire. It makes it so easy to puff ourselves up.
Okay, so ego pops up right from the start. What are some of those early traps the book highlights? I remember one chapter title.
Talk. Yes, that's a big one. The core idea is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Just talking about your goals can actually trick your brain. It makes you feel like you've already done the work, which drains the energy you need to actually do it.
Yeah.
He uses the example of Upton Sinclair running for governor in California. Sinclair wrote this book, I, Governor of California, detailing all the amazing things he had done, past tense, before the election.
Because he is.
Yeah. And apparently, after the book came out, people noticed he kind of lost steam on the actual campaign trail. He'd already lived the success in his head in the book. He ended up losing badly. The talk replaced the action.
That's quite a story. And it makes you think about today, doesn't it? With social media everywhere, all those empty boxes, what's on your mind, compose tweet. It's so easy to fill them with our grand plans, our aspirations, how great things are going, instead of, actually grappling with the hard parts, the messy reality of doing the work. It feels easier to post about it. I've done it.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge trap. The book mentions Emily Gould, a writer who got a big advance but then got stuck. Why? Because she was spending a lot of time on the internet, blogging, tweeting. She felt like she was working, building her brand. But really, it was a way to avoid the overwhelming task of writing the novel. Kierkegaard nailed it, didn't he? Mere gossip anticipates real talk, and to express what is still in thought weakens action by forestalling it. Your brain gets the satisfaction hit without the effort.
Okay, that makes total sense. Avoid the talk trap. But then Holiday throws another curveball, don't be passionate. That seems wrong. Are we supposed to follow our passion?
Right. It sounds completely backwards. But his argument is that unchecked passion can actually hide weakness. Think about it, all that breathless energy, that impetuousness. It can sometimes cover up a lack of real discipline or mastery. He contrasts it with purpose. Look at Eleanor Roosevelt. People described her as having purpose, direction, not necessarily passionate in that fiery way. She was driven by reason. Compare that to, say, George W. Bush on Iraq, or the inventor of the Segway. Loads of passion, right? But maybe that passion blinded them to the realities, the objections, the potential pitfalls. Passion without realism can lead you astray.
The example of John Wooden, the user... He thought emotions got in the way. His whole thing was control, doing the job right, not being a slave to passion. And the results? 10 championships in 12 years. It's hard to argue with that. How did he get that intensity without the usual rah-rah stuff?
It comes back to purpose. The book argues that purpose, combined with realism and an iterative process like step-by-step improvement, is much more powerful than raw passion. Passion can be form over function, looks good, sounds exciting. But purpose is function. It's about the actual work. Goethe apparently said, great passions are maladies without hope. Maybe a bit extreme, but it makes you think. It's the steady, focused effort that builds something real.
Moving from passion to purpose. That's a big shift. And linked to that, there's this idea of the canvas strategy, helping others first, which feels like it goes against the ego's need for immediate recognition.
Exactly. It draws on this Roman concept, the antifambulo.
Antifambula.
Yeah, it means one who clears the path. The idea wasn't to be a suck-up, but to strategically support someone powerful, like a patron. By making them look good, by clearing obstacles for them, you'd learn, build connections, and eventually create opportunities for yourself. Think of historical figures, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Ben Franklin. They all had to navigate systems like this. It's a long-term strategy.
Ah, I see. So the core of the canvas strategy is be less or do more. Like, forget about getting the credit right now. Focus on helping others, solving their problems. If you genuinely try to help everyone you meet, benefiting them, the long-term payoff must be huge, right? In terms of relationships, skills.
It would be profound. And that leads really nicely into the next idea, maintaining a student mindset. Because true mastery isn't possible if you think you know it all. You have to accept that others are better, that there's always more to learn. It means actively seeking out knowledge, feedback, even the tough stuff.
But how do you keep that up? Especially when you do start getting good at something. The ego must fight back then.
Oh, for sure. Frank Shamrock, the MMA fighter, had a system called plus minus equal. He said you need someone better than you to learn from, plus someone not as good to teach, minus, and someone at your level to challenge you, equal. It constantly forces you to check your ego and avoid complacency. He said, false ideas about yourself destroy you. Stay a student. Humility is a tool.
That Genghis Khan example was surprising, too. He wasn't necessarily born a military genius.
Right. Holiday calls him a perpetual student and a master of appropriation. His whole empire grew because he was incredibly open to learning from the cultures he conquered. He'd find the best technology, the best tactics, siege engines, military units, and just adopt them ruthlessly. He wasn't too proud to learn from anyone.
That's powerful. Like Wynton Marsalis said, humility lets you learn because you don't stand in your own way. If you think you're already there, you close yourself off.
Exactly. You can't learn if you think you already know.
And related to keeping the ego in check, there's the idea of restrain yourself, especially under pressure. Booker T. Washington's quote about staying calm, self-possessed, patient, and polite, even when provoked, that takes incredible strength.
It really does. Look at Jackie Robinson. Apparently, as a younger man, he had a temper. But when he broke the color barrier in baseball, he faced just horrific racist abuse, especially from one manager, Ben Chapman. Robinson wanted to physically retaliate, but he didn't. He held it in, and later he even posed for a photo with Chapman to help the guy keep his job. That level of restraint is almost superhuman. Contrast that with General McClellan in the Civil War. Immensely talented, but his ego was huge. He was obsessed with how he looked, paranoid about rivals, constantly congratulating himself in his letters, and it paralyzed him. He couldn't act decisively because he was too caught up in his own internal drama, that imaginary audience. He failed miserably because of it.
That difference between internal control and being swayed by external noise or internal fears, it's critical. Okay, let's shift to success itself. Once you achieve something, how do you manage that? The book talks about managing yourself.
Yeah, and the Eisenhower versus John DeLorean comparison is really stark. Eisenhower, as president, was disciplined, delegated well, focused on the big picture. He trusted his team. DeLorean, starting his car company, thought discipline and rules were for other people. He actively ignored conventional wisdom. The result? Chaos. An ego-driven company that bled money and collapsed spectacularly, despite his design talent. He couldn't manage his own ego.
It shows how your role changes with success, right? You go from doing the work to leading others who do the work. That requires humility, admitting you might not be the best person for every task anymore, trusting others. It's a shift in identity.
Absolutely. And it affects teams, too. Pat Riley called it the disease of me. When a team wins, egos can inflate. Individuals start thinking they're the reason for the success, that their needs are paramount. Think Shaq and Kobe feuding or Michael Jordan literally punching teammates in practice. That me-first attitude destroys cohesion.
General George Marshall seems like the ultimate antidote to that. WWII Chief of Staff.
An incredible example. He actively avoided personal glory, refused promotions if he thought they'd slight a mentor. He even deferred the D-Day command to Eisenhower, arguably the most prestigious role, because he thought it served the mission better. Always the mission first. Total selflessness, grounded in humility. He wasn't even interested in seeing his own official portrait when it was done.
Amazing. But what about when things go wrong? Adversity hits everyone. How does ego play into failure?
Ego makes failure so much worse. It adds As the book says, self-injury to every injury. DeLorean again, failure led him to desperation, even crime. His ego couldn't handle it constructively.
Oh,
Contrast that with Steve Jobs getting fired from Apple. Huge blow to his ego, obviously. But he didn't completely self-destruct. He went on to found NXT and Pixar. He learned from the failure, faced his flaws, and eventually came back stronger.
That connects to the idea of lifetime versus dead time, right?
Exactly. Dead time is when things are out of your control, setbacks, waiting, even confinement. Live time is choosing to use that period productively, for growth. Malcolm X in prison is the prime example. He could have just been angry and bitter. Instead, he read voraciously, educated himself, found freedom within prison walls. Viktor Frankl in concentration camps, Ian Fleming writing children's books while bedridden. They turned dead time into live time. It's a choice.
So even in success, maybe especially in success, you need to maintain clarity. The book calls it maintaining your sobriety. Not literally, but
Right, maintaining a clear, unclouded perspective, not getting drunk on your own success. There's a story about Angela Merkel as a child, hesitating on a diving board, taking all the time she needed. It reflected her adult caution. Fear is a bad advisor. And that Zen philosopher Zeugen, reminding himself daily, become sober, do not be deceived by others. That constant self-check.
because power and success can be intoxicating. They can fragment, close options, mesmerize, as the book says, cloud your judgment. Bill Belichick's focus on steak over sizzle, substance over hype seems key here. Focusing on what actually works, not the flashy stuff.
For sure. And the danger of losing that sobriety, losing sight of your purpose, is huge. Look at Howard Hughes. Genius inventor, filmmaker, pilot. But his ego eventually consumed him. Paranoia, isolation, financial ruin, a miserable end. Fame didn't bring happiness. He apparently told an aide he'd swap places, but bet the aide would want to swap back within a week. Napoleon, too. Chased fame, achieved immense power, but found no lasting happiness, and his empire crumbled quickly. External markers aren't the same as internal fulfillment.
Which brings us near the end with the idea, don't tell yourself a story. Like Bill Walsh in his Standard of Performance, forget the Super Bowl hype. Focus on executing the fundamentals perfectly. Every single detail. The score takes care of itself. It's about the process, not the narrative you build around it. Jeff Bezos saying there was no aha moment for Amazon, just relentless iteration.
It's such a crucial point. And the comparison between General Sherman and Ulysses S. Grant after the Civil War really drives it home. Sherman knew his purpose. He retired content, wanted nothing to do with politics or more power. Grant, despite being president, kept chasing more power, more wealth, ended up bankrupt and troubled. He couldn't decide what was important. Okay, it ties into that Greek word, euthymia. Staying on your own path, focusing on being your best, not getting distracted by what others are doing or achieving. Just be what you are as well as you can.
It reminds me of Ira Glass talking about the taste-talent gap. You start out, you have good taste, but your skills aren't there yet. Your work isn't good enough. Ego wants to jump in then, right? Bluster, pretend it's good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
But the book says, no, face that gap. Be humbled by it. Let it motivate you to put in the hours, do the work, build the habits to actually get good. So wrapping this up, ego. Is the enemy really paints ego as this constant internal battle we all face. And real success, real fulfillment, it seems, comes from humility, self-awareness, focusing intensely on the work itself, and being really clear on your own purpose, not just chasing external validation or telling yourself grand stories.
Absolutely. It's a powerful thread through history. Genghis Khan learning, Jackie Robinson restraining himself. Yeah. Greatness often comes from managing, even suppressing the ego, not indulging it. It's about that constant commitment to learning and self-mastery.
So, maybe a final thought for you listening. How do you define your own win? Is it really about the applause and the recognition? Or is it more about the effort you put in, what you learn along the way, the actual substance of what you create or contribute? What's one step you could take, maybe even today, to quiet that noisy ego just a little bit and align your actions more closely with what truly matters to you, making sure your path is yours, not just the one the world expects? Thanks for joining us for this duo read session. Until next time, keep decoding those deep ideas.